Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. I always like to say the day just so that I remember where I am and where I'm going. What we're going to be talking about here today is the future workplace trends as it relates to future becoming benefits. Okay, so I always say watch the trends as they become your future policies. One of the roles of HR is to ensure that the workforce is ready for what's next, okay, amongst a few other things. And in turn, the company provides employees with benefits that it wants. Okay, so we go to companies, they hire us, we, do the work for the skills, and then in turn, the company provides benefits that are uniquely from their company to the employees. Okay, so we're going to watch the trends again because they're become future policy. So what we're going to talk about here is future states. And then I'll share a few and then we'll drill down into some of the ones that I'm seeing most relevant and coming up closer. Okay. As much as I don't love PowerPoints, I did create one just to help the conversation. I'm going to share my screen just so that we can kick off and get started there. So again, welcome. You are here joining me for What the Heck is HR Anyway, which is a LinkedIn series that will be your go-to resource for businesses seeking to make informed decisions. It's hosted by myself, Aviva Wordy, the founder of Integral HR and avivawordy.com. In this series, I dive deep into the essentials of HR topics such as compliance, recruiting, HR tech, operation, benefit, and assessment. So let's get started. Okay. These are the top 9 future workplace trends of 2024. So I know we're a quarter of the way in, but they still stand to be really relevant. Checking in after the kind of mid-year because I fact checked them. They are here to be true. Okay. So number one, being the cost of work crisis reaching a breaking point. Anyone in the workplace, I do think we could feel that friction. So I'm going to say 100% accurate here. Number two, AI creates, it's not diminishing the workforce opportunity. So I do know, the energy around AI is going to take our jobs. We're not going to have to work. It's going to change. Everyone's going to get laid off. Not accurate. I've been able to see it make some nice, I want to say dents, but, little opportunities within our day to day that have been very helpful. So trend number three, 4-day work weeks going from radical to routine. Number four, I'm smiling because that's one of my topics that I'm going to talk about. Employee conflict resolution is the new must have skill for managers. Okay. Number five, general AI, Gen AI experiments will yield hard lessons and painful costs. So AI in the workplace is new. We don't know the repercussions. We don't know the legalities. We don't know, we're all having fun and games. Expect a few kind of fallout to come at a cost to business, to teams, to projects as we continue to implement it across all of our tools and our systems and our platforms. Number six, skills overtake degrees as paper ceiling crumbles. Okay, so there is a big topic around skills. What does that do to universities and official degrees as we move through 2024? Number seven, climate change. Climate change protects becomes an in-demand employee benefit. Number eight, DEI doesn't disappear. It becomes the way we work. Okay. And number nine, career stereotypes collapse in the face of workforce changes. Stepping back 2024, the year of a lot of changes. And I would say big shifts to the way that we're working. And again, going back to that theme of we want to watch the trends because what's going to happen is they're going to become benefits and through that policies in a future state that maybe we would need to put in place for 2025 or as we go through and implement things. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of drop down into 4 of the trends that I want to share a little bit more about or have seen intimately and more relevant. I would say more intimately. Okay. Going to start here with number 3, the 4-day work week. I knew that the title was like from skeptic to, often and frequent. I was a huge skeptic. When I heard 4-day work week, I was like, what the heck? That's just for like Google and Amazon, maybe, or small tech companies that were the first ones that brought in the ping pong tables. But I started to see a little bit of a change in just it being a headline. So kind of 2 pieces jumped up for me. One, on the left here, the Financial Times writing the 4-day work week is easier than hybrid working, says a UK boss. And I was like, that's interesting. Side conversation we're having is like bring people back to work, but people love the flexibility. What's the incentive? How do we make it work? And when I saw this, I think that there's something, in the theme of thought of it's easier for people to be in the office to manage and bring culture. That's not the topic, whether it's right or wrong here, but everyone coming in for 4 days and then having that Friday off does shorten the work week and does bring balance. So there's something about that, this article that was like had me thinking about the 4-day work week a little differently. And then I was able to join via Troop HR a huddle that was hosted with Laura and their company is DNS Filters. So they're actually in their third year of a 4-day work week. And what I liked about it, and I don't want to say they're reframing, but how they implemented it was super cool. Actually, what they did was it was a rotating 4-day work week. Okay. So in my head, I was like, how could a company be off? All of a sudden, everyone shuts down. Who's going to talk to the customers on Friday? Right? Customers don't stop reaching out or having needs on a Friday because the company's closed. But how they solved this was they actually rotated. So what they did was they stepped back and they made each team into two groups. Okay. And then they rotated. Okay. So it was half the team was off every other Friday. So there was always support. And one of the benefits they were saying is that Friday then turned into like quiet, get work day done simultaneously with running this program. So again, they rotate every Friday, which is an extra guys 20 days off, right? So I don't want to say it's easy. They had a real case here. Like they started this program and they tested it because they were about to go into rapid growth and they wanted to pay attention to not burning out their team. So this is why they put this in place. But their results was the productivity did not drop and the recruiting was way up. I think the number she shared, Laura, was like, gosh, 100% acceptance rate, right? Because the thought of the business being able to do this, having 20 extra days off was such a plus. So these two pieces definitely had me, changing my view of what a 4-day work week could look like and it being more tangible to the day to day of running a business. I think the two call outs that they shared, I don't want to say as downsides, but as growing pains, was that they had to watch out for global holidays. I think they were saying that in the UK in August, there was tons of big holidays, and so you have to be conscious of Friday overlapping with holidays. So very few work days in a month, possibly. And then teams of one obviously couldn't rotate. So interesting insight. This is not my insight. If you have questions, I'm sure you can reach out to Laura. I'm just kind of sharing, but definitely brought the future of work and the 4-day work week from skeptic into believer for me. There's also this cool website as a resource, the 4-day week. That's a recruiting source for anyone looking to work for a company that offers this 4-day work week. Next one I wanted to drill down on was skills overtaking degrees as paper ceilings crumble. And I just wanted to like double click into the skills component. So skills being a huge topic, right? It's not just like going to school and then having a degree in something. It's now I have a skill to actually implement and do something. A few things here that we used to talk about, like I'm seeing the language change a little bit. So from competencies to skills, right? So what skills do we need to do the job? I think that this is a great place to ask a question on what are the skills that we need as a company. So what does our company do? What industry are we in? How do we solve problems? So what are those skills? And then breaking them down also by team. Okay. So that maybe would be instead of being like, I need a finance degree because they sit in a finance team, it's like, what is their day to day skill of that role? And then going at it that way. So that would be how maybe the degrees would sunset and the skills would come into play more. Um, and I think it's also the speed of play here. So for me, I pulled this transformative, as seeing the words agile, right? Breaking down silos. So if you're in the finance team, it doesn't mean that you can't go cross over now to the marketing team. What skill is transferable there, right? I would say being able to analyze data, that is a skill that you can go from finance. Maybe if you're thinking about FP&A into marketing analytics, right? So that transferring, some of the things we want to think about there is how fast can we bring the skill into play to retrain people up, right? So faster, agile, less fixed in a role, right? So it's people's capacity and capabilities versus have to sit in a role and a time and role. I'm definitely seeing this happen in, changing up in recruiting processes. I'm seeing this like, L&D teams, what skills, how do we skill train? And I think it's going beyond upskilling. I think it's what skills are required, right? For each team, like I said, and each business. So It's that speed of play, is identifying the skills. And then as a company doing that, and as a candidate being able to be like, well, if I want to work there, what skills do I need and how fast can I get them? So definitely seeing this come into play as a trend. And I would imagine it would continue to go through in 2025. The next I want to drill down on is climate change as a benefit. I've seen it a bunch of places. This is one where I'm still watching and waiting just to see how it comes through within a corporation. So climate change becoming the in-demand employee benefits. So when I think about where this is coming from, right? You're kind of pulling up like Gen Z, that next generation getting into the workplace, like what do they care about? And that piece there is social responsibility, right? So I think that's where, climate change is coming into place. We're also a topic of global warming coming through, but I'm not really seeing anything concrete more than companies being able to offer electric or carbon light transportation, right? So like city bikes offering bikes or electric cars. I would say renting electric cars versus regular cars, right? So I'm seeing these in a small way, but I'm not seeing anything from a company perspective that's large, that's consistently through the industry, that's making me be like, yes, climate change is actually real for all of our companies. What I am seeing is mental health. Okay, that's kind of what I am seeing more. And I think, from the same generation, if you see here, right, mental health being on the top and then environmental climate change, right? So I think maybe it's because mental health is a hotter topic and it's easier for companies to solve than it is for climate change. But I'm still on the fence here of understanding what that will look like in 2024 or even 2025 as I don't say regular companies, but smaller companies, not Amazon or the Googles who are able to make big impact and initiatives within their company, how this comes through. So this one is more to watch. Okay. Next one that I wanted to talk a little bit more about is career stereotypes collapsing in the face of workforce challenge. Because I get excited around the ones of skill based and people being able to transfer back and forth. I get excited to see the 4-day work week because it's really just like the theme here is just changing the way we work. And we are definitely, whether it's because COVID, post COVID, pre COVID, have entered in a new way, a change in the way we work, which I think is exciting. It's unnerving. It keeps us split, but the future is really, I would say, people focused, which is nice. So with this one, I pulled a fun example. And finally, and I put the explanation there, addressing work styles based on life. Okay, so like the ability to move beyond, and I loved how they wrote this traditional 40, 40, 40, so 40-hour, 40-week, 40-year employment contract to something more flexible, right? I think that's maybe, what our parents did and our grandparents did 40 hours, 40 weeks, 40 years, right? And you're just like, damn, like we don't want to do that anymore. Unilever, I think, has implemented the future workplace. They call it U Work. And I thought this was a fun example of a way to bring, the future of work into your workplace. So logistically, what it is that they have a team that's a resource team. So basically, you're hired by Unilever, but then you're on a project basis. Okay, so you have your assignments vary, and you have some free time between the assignments, depending on what you're working on or what's going on. You get a monthly retainer, so they'll give a monthly retainer to their employees, and they also get to keep their benefits and whether they're working on assignments or not. So assignment, like I was saying, works can vary. It can be a few days a week. It could be a few months. So the time commit ebbs and flows a little bit, and then you get to have breaks in between. So I thought this was a really nice way to bring in multiple people in the workplace. So if we think about, maybe students going to school, right? So if you think about the beginning part of the journey, like not interns, but maybe people going to school, 25, 26, or they need to go to school full time and work. This is nice flexibility. Families, returning to office, any time in life where you need to still want to work, but maybe adjust the way you're working. This is such a bright spot in future, how we're able to navigate that and keep everyone in the workplace just by changing the way we work, right? So a little bit less stuck on 40, 40, 40, and more on who's the best fit for the job and keeping people flexible and engaged in a unique way. So I thought this was a cool program. I have heard of this before, like they call them task force teams, but those are usually the first teams to go, I think, because they're just like, problem solvers and people moving through the business. But this is really like a commitment to bringing forth and addressing stereotypes. Who is to say everything has to be full time for it to be magical? So this was another, kind of a fun one that I wanted to click through there. That kind of brings me to the end of my presentation as far as like walking through. So those are the overarching 9 themes and trends for 2024. And then four of my favorites that I wanted to drill down on. So as we move through the year or as you pick these up in themes, the pieces that you're going to want to think about is, you know, pay, technology, communication, skills. So that training piece, when you go into recruiting, how we looking, and really, if you're able to lean into some of these pieces here, you can really showcase yourself as being relevant in the marketplace and really matching and getting the best talent because you're recruiting correctly. You're focusing on the items that the industry and the job market community is. And you're also able to offer benefits and really meeting the way people want to work right now. Okay. So there's definitely a split of, no change happening, all the change, and then some in the middle here. So hope this was helpful for you. Reach out if you have any questions that you wanted to talk about any of these trends or how to implement in your business. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you for joining What the Heck is HR anyway?